Hey, and welcome back to my channel. It's Ashley here, and if you are new, hey girl, hey. So in this video today, I'm going to be sharing this cute little makeover. So I got this table a very long time ago. It's like a little cute little entry piece, and I'm finally doing something with it. So I'm going to share, of course, everything that I did with this. So let's get started. So of course, the first thing I'm going to do is clean my piece. So personally, I like to clean pieces no matter if I'm going to sand it or whatever, because honestly, I mean, I always say this, but you would not cook in a dirty kitchen. So you know you're going to mess your kitchen up, but you still want to have a clean kitchen when you're cooking. So for me, this is the same thing. So I'm just wiping it down with some soapy water, and then I'm just going to spray it real quick with some crud cutters and I'll wipe that down and move on to the next step. Alright, so after that, I'm going to start to sand. So I decided to sand the top and also the legs of this piece. So in this particular video, I'm just going to be kind of focusing on talking to you guys about actually sanding and using different sanders to get into hard to reach areas. Because the bottom of this had lots of hard to reach areas. So the first sander that I'm going to use is my orbital sander, and I'm just going to use that for the top, and then I'm also going to use that for the leg areas that I can reach. So I am using an 80 grit, and I'm just removing the finish on this. You can say this is like mahogany. You can go between mahogany or cherry, but to me it's giving mahogany vibes. Both have like that reddish kind of tint, so I'm just going to take this off regardless. So I am just going back and forth carefully, just removing all of the stain, and then I also use this to go around the edges too, because orbital sanders are good for that as well, because it's easy to kind of like, I don't really know how to explain it, but like bend it into place and shape and all that stuff. But you'll see that because I'm showing you here what I'm talking about, so you're able to like tilt it up and down and stuff like that to reach those areas. So after I did the top, I moved on to my legs, still using my orbital sander to get into just the very easy areas to sand. And then after that, my battery died because I need to get some lithium batteries for this. But I moved on and switched to my sheet sander, and this was a corded sheet sander that I'm using. And I feel like when they're corded, sometimes they're more powerful. That might just be me, but it is nice to, you know, just kind of have the option of both. So I started to use that, and I then again had that same 80 grit paper, and I was just removing that finish. Next, after I used that sheet sander, I took off most of the finish. Now I'm getting into the areas that I couldn't really reach with my sheet or my orbital sander because of the big bulky tops. So having this multi-tool is good to get into those areas, as you can see. And then I switched over to my good old rotary tool, which I love to use this because you can really get into those nooks and crannies that you cannot get into with any of those sanders that I was using previously. You just want to take your time, and they have different sizes and stuff that you can use with the sander portion with these tools. And then also you want to make sure that you are eyeing the speed that you're using as well, because sometimes you can take off not only the finish that you're trying to take off, but you can actually like grind down your wood way too much. So you want to be careful with that and keep that in mind when you are using a rotary tool as well. Also, just tearing off pieces of sandpaper is really good too, and you can really kind of get into those areas and make sure you get that finish off as well. Working with both of these things, they work well together so that you can remove all of the finish. So next, I am going to be painting these little intricate detailed area in the front and on the sides. So first, of course, I'm just going to take some painter's tape and I'm going to tape this up. I'm using sharp lines. So sharp lines is really good to use with the Scotch tape. And then, of course, your frog tape is really good to use as well. So for this particular piece, because it has a lot of intricate details and stuff, I didn't really want to use a paintbrush to do this, so I'm going to be spraying everything. So I'm just making sure that I am taping up the areas where possible spray can get to, and I don't want to mess up what I have already taken so much of my time sanding. So next I'm going to be using my shellac, and I'm going to spray this on because we're just going to go with saying that this has like a mahogany kind of finish, but as I'm spraying it on, it looks like cherry vibes, but either way, it's like a reddish tone that this has. And anything like that, you're going to want to prime it first so you don't have any bleed through when you are painting. So I'm spraying my shellac on first. I'm just doing this for extra protection, and then I'm going to come in with my shellac based primer and I'm going to spray that on. I'm going to be completely honest, when I was using this spray paint, it kind of like gunked it up. I was even shaking the can and everything. I don't know if it was just this can, but it was just not, no. So I had to come in with just like a 220 grit, and I just kind of smoothed that down a little bit and just gave it one more coat on top of that after I was finished. So after that dried, I'm going to come in with this smoky beige color, and I am going to spray this on top. So this was a satin finish, and this is also a paint plus primer spray paint, which I'm pretty sure most spray paints are that now, and also paint. It's paint and primer. But I'm just going to spray this on, and I did 2 coats. So after that was dried, I just removed all of the tape that I had on here, and as you can see, reasons why I love to use either sharp lines or frog tape. It just comes off with such ease, and then like, look at that, sharp line, no paint or anything on there. So after that, I'm just going to start to smooth out my wood. So I'm using a 220, and then I'm going to come in with a 400 as well to really smooth it out. So to do that, I am using, Ryobi calls this a corner cat. Other people call this a mouse sander. So whatever. It's a sander that looks like a triangle. So I am using that to do that. I could have again came back in with my orbital sander, but hey, I'm showing you all the sanders that you can possibly use when you are sanding. So I am just using this to again smooth out my wood. Also, another thing I'm going to mention is I'm not going to be staining this wood. I'm just keeping it at its raw finish. So I'm going to be taking this fabric, I got it from Michael's, and I am just going to be adding it to the inside of the back. So to get the size right, all I did was I flipped this over, and I am going to cut that out, making sure that I have enough to kind of have a little excess so that I can make sure I'm covering everything, and then I'll be able to cut it out with my X-Acto knife. So after I got that cut out, I'm now going to add this to the back. So you guys kind of basically know how I do this, especially if you watch all of my furniture makeovers where I add things like this. So I'm going to be using my Mod Podge and my continuous sprayer, and then also a paintbrush, and I'm using my zebra paintbrush. So I'm just going to spray it on first, then I'm going to add my Mod Podge, and then I'm simply going to take the fabric and add it on top, smooth it out, and then I'm just going to repeat the steps again of adding my Mod Podge and water and brushing this on top. And then I honestly let this dry for a day. You don't have to let it dry that long, but I did. And then I came back out, and I'm just using my Cricut X-Acto knife. These things are nice and sharp, and I am just going to be removing the excess that I have from the tops, bottom, and also the sides. Now I'm just going to come in with my multi-tool again, and I'm just going to remove any of the strays that I've had. And I think I used like a 120 or 150 grit to kind of do this. And again, this is why it's also good to just make sure that you let this sit for like a day, so you make sure it is nice and dry before you actually do anything like this. After that, I'm just going to re-add my water and my Mod Podge just to make sure that everything again is nice and in order, especially after sanding some stuff down and removing the excess. Sometimes some stuff can kind of lift up a little bit if you pull too much, because this is totally removable. So you can use fabric, or you can use removable wallpaper. You can use decoupage paper, tissue paper, whatever you want to use to create cute little patterns and designs to give your pieces a pop of something extra. Details, you guys know I love details. It's cool to add these because you can always remove them, or if the person like, hey, they don't really vibe with it, they can take it off, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't do that. But yes, so that is what I'm doing to just make sure that this is nice and sealed. And that is it. That's all I did to this piece. I love how this turned out. I love the fact that I left the raw wood. I did seal the wood with a matte polyurethane, and then the body portion that I painted, I sealed that with a satin finish. So I love simple, so cute, and so fall. Look at my pumpkins. I love my glass pumpkins. Also, the little fabric in the back, I love that you can kind of see through it, through the intricate details that this does have. It just brings in just a little bit more. I'm just a person that loves details. So I love this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you learned a little bit of something when it comes to using different type of sanders and when it's good to kind of use them and things like that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below to let me know what you think. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, make sure you click on that subscribe button and you hit that notification bell so you'll always be up to date with my latest tutorials, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!